Revealed. Millionaire's incredible challenge. He laughs until unexpected results change everything. In the heart of Galena, Illinois, a town where time dripped like honey, everyone knew Jake Turner. At 30, he was the town's hard-working mechanic, his hands perpetually stained with grease, a testament to the long hours he labored at the local garage. But behind his warm smile lay his struggles, a mountain of bills, the ghost of his father's factory accident etched in his memories, and the heavy responsibility of caring for his younger sister, Lily. Every day felt like a tug-of-war between his dreams of owning his auto repair shop and the unyielding weight of familial duty. Then, Victor Hayes rolled into town, like a storm wrapped in tailored suits and gold-plated watches. This billionaire, known for his extravagant lifestyle, was a spectacle itself. He spent most of his days flaunting wealth and privilege. When he announced an uproarious challenge, a series of laugh-out-loud contests to unite the town, Jake couldn't help but feel a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Was this just another display of entitlement? Yet, maybe, just maybe, this could be the spark to uplift his family, to bring back the joy that had dimmed over the years. As townsfolk gathered at the park under the weathered American flag, old wooden picnic tables lined up as makeshift stages. Excitement hummed in the air. Jake felt his heart race with anticipation mixed with nerves. No matter the facade, he wanted to win. But more importantly, he wanted to bring laughter back into their lives. When it was his turn to take the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. Jake took a deep breath. The cool evening air filled his lungs, and he let out a self-deprecating joke about his own clumsiness that set the crowd roaring with laughter. Their faces lit up with joy, laughter spilling like warm sunshine on a chilly day. He realized in those moments that laughter could be a salve for the struggles they carried. Victor stepped up next, confident and polished, but his jaded quips fell flat. Laughter turned to murmurs as he struggled to connect with the audience. The contrast was glaring. Jake's humility shone against Victor's bravado, opening a window into their clashing worlds. Each contestant's joke built community bonds, uniting laughter and love amidst the everyday struggles. But as the stakes grew higher, so did Jake's desperation. In a moment fueled by envy and fear of not making enough of an impression, he decided to compromise a cherished moment with Lily, choosing ambition over family. Her trusting smile faded, replaced with hurt, sending a chill through Jake's heart. The final contest was fierce and emotional. Jake faced the tension not only of Victor's relentless confidence, but also the deeper truth within himself. Had he traded the warmth of family for the fleeting recognition of strangers? The laughter slowly faded, leaving an unsettling silence that thickened the air. As Jake looked into the eyes of his fellow townsfolk, there was recognition in their laughter, but an equal weight in Lily's silence, draped over his heart like a dark cloud. The question loomed larger than life. Could laughter truly heal the divides he was so desperately trying to bridge? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that haunting silence, Jake stood at a crossroad, grappling with the cost of his ambition. Would he sacrifice the love that anchored him for a fleeting moment of success? The laughter around him echoed with joy, but the silence of his sister weighed heavy. The vibrant tapestry of his community felt fragile. His heart ached. Uncertainty slipped through his fingers like grains of sand. The story paused, leaving an aching question hanging in the air. Can laughter truly mend the bonds of family? Or will the pursuit of recognition unravel their delicate fabric forever? Jake's heart raced as the silence clawed at him. He could still see the hurt in Lily's eyes, the disappointment that settled like a storm cloud between them. If laughter was meant to connect them, why did it feel like a chasm had formed instead? People began to stir, their murmurs lifting like the cool evening breeze. Jake forced himself to smile, despite the turmoil churning inside. He had made them laugh, but now he had to confront the aftermath, the realization of what he valued most. As the crowd dispersed, he approached Lily, who sat with her arms crossed, staring at her sneakers, the joy from earlier washed away. "Hey, Lil," he said softly, crouching down to her level. She lifted her head slowly, her expression a mix of disappointment and curiosity. "Did you think it was worth it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" Jake struggled to find the words that expressed the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "You, winning that contest. Maybe winning is what matters to you now," she replied, her gaze steady and piercing. Jake felt like the air was being sucked out of the space between them. What had he been chasing? The approval of strangers? Or the love of his sister? "Lily, No, don't," she interrupted, standing up. "It was my turn to laugh with you, and you chose to laugh for them instead." The sting of her words echoed louder than any laughter he'd shared that evening. It wasn't just a contest. It was a promise he had failed to keep. The laughter felt hollow now, an empty achievement. With a deep breath, he realized how far he had strayed from what truly mattered. He took a step closer, reaching for her hand. "I'm sorry. I thought I could make things better for us. I just wanted to show them I could be someone." Lily's eyes softened, but she didn't take his hand. "Being someone doesn't mean being away from us, Jake. We need you here, with us." The truth hit him square in the chest. Every victory he chased meant nothing if it left him more alone than before. "You're right. I need to find a way to bring that joy back to us. I don't want the laughter to just live in the park. I want it in our home, too. I miss you when you're gone." Her voice trembled slightly. Jake felt a wave of emotion course through him. "I promise to do better, for both of us." But as they stood there, the weight of the crowd's earlier laughter faded, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. How could he make things right? Was it too late? The thought of losing Lily's trust twisted the knot of guilt in his stomach. "Maybe if you joined the next contest, we could win together," she suggested hesitantly, a flicker of hope breaking through her uncertainty. "But what if I fail again?" he asked. "Then we'll laugh at your mistakes together," she replied, a small smile creeping back onto her face. It was a start, but there was still the shadow of Victor looming in his mind. What would he think? Jake realized this wasn't just about winning. It was about redefining what winning meant to him. The laughter of the town could no longer be a measure of his worth. It had to be grounded in family, connection, love. With determination igniting inside him, he made a decision. We will do it. Together. As Lily's smile grew, Jake felt a sense of relief wash over him. Yet fear remained. Victor wouldn't back down easily, and the next challenge could change everything yet again. Could they really bridge the gap between ambition and family ties? The question loomed, both daunting and illuminating. The next challenge approached, stubbornly persistent, and he knew it might force him to face not only Victor, but his own choices anew. Would laughter become a uniting force? Or would it fracture the bond they were trying to rebuild? Jake felt a mixture of excitement and dread as he stared at the contest flyer plastered on the community center door. The next big contest was just days away, and this one promised something even more thrilling than the last, a chance to perform a skit in front of the entire town and the chance to win a grand prize. The prize would be more than just money. It could mean securing a future for both him and Lily, a way to finally break the cycle of struggle that had defined them for too long. He glanced over at Lily, who was now studying the flyer with a look of determination. We can do this, Jake. Together, right? Right, he replied, the spark of hope igniting within him. But the shadow of Victor still loomed large in his mind. The last contest had shown just how cutthroat and competitive everything had become. Victor had a reputation for winning and for tearing down anyone who dared to threaten his crown. The thought of facing him again sent jitters through Jake's stomach. He opened his mouth to voice his concerns when Lily beat him to it. What if we make it more fun? We could come up with something that makes people not just laugh, but connect with us. Connect? He repeated, thinking back to the emptiness he had felt performing for strangers versus sharing genuine moments with Lily. Yeah, like something that speaks to them, brings them together. We can show that we're more than just competing. We're here to build something real. She continued, her eyes shining with creativity. Jake nodded slowly. Okay, I like that, but we need to think carefully. We have to be different, clever. We need an idea that'll stick. As they brainstormed ideas over the next few days, creativity flowed like a river. They spent nights scribbling notes, practicing silly routines in their living room, and even improvising skits they hoped would make their friends laugh. They were no longer just competing. They were sharing their lives, their laughter, their inside jokes. It felt good. It felt right. But as the contest neared, panic began creeping in. Thoughts of Victor snaked through Jake's mind. He was a natural performer, polished and dangerous. What if their ideas fell flat against him? Ever since they'd decided to write their skit together, every laugh felt like a test. Could genuine emotion really stand up to Victor's haunting set pieces? The day of the contest arrived, and the tension was palpable in the community center. As Jake and Lily took their places backstage, he saw Victor across the room, confidently chatting with his entourage. His heart raced, a clash between excitement and fear. Lily glanced up, sensing his unrest. Jake, remember what we talked about? This is about us, about laughter we create together. Yeah. His voice was barely a whisper, but he felt the weight of her words. She was right. This wasn't about Victor or the prize. If they could make even one person smile in the crowd, it would be worth it. As the curtain lifted and the spotlight flooded the stage, Jake took a deep breath. They were risking everything. Could they find a way to connect their hearts through laughter, or would they fall prey to the shadows of competition? The question lingered in the air as they stepped out into the light, ready to face the audience together. But just as they began their skit, a sudden commotion erupted from the back of the room. Jake's heart dropped. What was happening? Would their moment of truth be overshadowed before it even began? Jake squinted into the glare of the spotlight, the chatter of the crowd fading as a loud shout rang out. A group of people burst through the double doors at the back of the room, their faces flushed with excitement. Jake's heart raced, uncertainty swirling in his mind. Time felt like it stood still. What could be happening? Lily tugged at his sleeve, her eyes wide. Look, she whispered, pointing toward the commotion. A man dressed in a sharp suit, his hair slicked back, walked into view. With a booming voice, he announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to present our grand prize, and I have a surprise contest for you all." Jake could hardly focus on what was being said. His eyes darted between the man and the audience's puzzled reactions. Lily squeezed his hand, the known warmth grounding him amidst the chaos. "We have to keep going," she urged. As they exchanged nervous glances, the suited man spoke again. "Join in if you dare. The first team that can make me laugh in the next 10 minutes will qualify for an even bigger prize. $1 million challenge awaits." Gasps echoed through the hall. For Jake and Lily, it felt like a punch to the gut. In that moment, it wasn't just about competing against Victor anymore. Now an entire town was rallying behind the allure of $1 million laugh. Could this day get any crazier? Jake muttered, dread creeping back in. The stakes had just been raised astronomically, and his faith wavered again, making the stage seem even larger and more intimidating. Lily shook her head, her determination unwavering. "This is what we wanted, Jake. A chance to make people feel something. Let's use the moment. If he thinks he can find a better laugh, let's give it to him." Taking a deep breath, Jake raised an eyebrow. "You really think we can make him laugh? With this time crunch?" "Why not?" she said, her voice like a steady drumbeat. The crowd was buzzing with anticipation, eyes darting between the suited man and the stage. "Let's just do what we planned, but with all this energy. We've got 10 minutes. Let's make it our best shot yet." Together, they began to improvise, weaving their unique spins into the established skit, while keeping an eye on the timer that ticked ominously in Jake's peripheral vision. They dug deep, fueling the humor with their present fears. Each jab they made drew laughter. Each punchline seemed to resonate more than the last, as the audience leaped on every note of their performance. The suit-clad host watched intently, laughter bubbling at the corners of his mouth as Jake and Lily found their rhythm. For the first time since they stepped onto the stage, that ominous fear of Victor faded into the background, replaced by the joy of genuine creativity. Seconds ticked away, and as they wrapped up their skit, the sounds of genuine laughter echoed back to them. Jake felt the thrill of connection swell within. It wasn't just about the contest. It was about truly reaching people, making them smile. But then, just as they finished, the man stood up, a broad grin on his face. "That was delightful. But can you top it? We're moving to the next round while I find out who else can challenge you." Jake's heart sank. They weren't out of the woods yet. The whole town was watching, and now it turned into an all-out humor war. What waited in the wings? Would laughter take them to new heights, or would the stakes rip them apart? "Lily, what have we gotten into?" he whispered, a mix of anxiety and exhilaration flooding through him. The theater lights felt brighter. As the crowd cheered, Jake's mind raced. They needed a battle plan. But how could they keep the essence of what they created while facing off against an unknown? The laughter of the masses had begun, but what would it reveal next? Jake felt a shiver creep down his spine as the cheers of the crowd swelled, drowning out any rational thought. Lily's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and determination, but doubt gnawed at him. They had just stepped onto a much larger stage, and now it wasn't just them against Victor. It was everyone versus everyone, each act vying to elicit laughter from a seemingly impenetrable fortress of skepticism. "What if we can't top it?" he asked, a tremor in his voice. "Then we have to make them believe in us. This is our moment," Lily shot back, her energy infectious. She pushed a strand of hair behind her ear and focused her gaze on the audience. "We just need to think like them. What do they love? What makes them tick?" Jake nodded slowly, trying to anticipate their next steps. That first skit had come so naturally, each punchline flowing effortlessly from their shared energy. But now, with the lights blazing down and the pressure of a town-wide contest, he felt like every eye scrutinized them, waiting for failure. The suited man paced the stage, his confidence palpable as he continued to rally the audience. "Let's bring out our next contestants. Who's feeling funny?" he called, a gleam in his eye that made Jake's stomach twist. "Maybe we should watch the others," Jake suggested, his instinct taking over. "See what works?" "No time for that," said Lily, grabbing his arm. "We need to build on what we just did. Let's do a skit about the joy of laughter itself. Use our own fears of the moment against us. Relatable humor always works." Jake took a deep breath. "Okay, but what if they're really good?" Lily leaned closer, her eyes fierce with conviction. "Then we just have to make ours better. Remember, laughter is universal. People want to relate. Let's give them a piece of us." As they positioned themselves for their new act, a flurry of other participants took the stage, each trying to wow the crowd with their own comedy. Some relied on witty one-liners, others on slapstick antics. The audience erupted in laughter, but Jake felt himself losing ground. Doubt threatened again, whispering insidiously that maybe he and Lily didn't belong in this spontaneous humor war. "Just watch, Jake," Lily prompted, her hand tightening around his. "We have something they don't. We have a bond that makes our humor special." And as the laughter rang out across the theater, he couldn't help but think back to their shared dreams, the late-night talks about wanting to bring happiness to others. They needed to harness that feeling. "Okay," he said, eyes now locked on the crowd. "Let's do this." They stormed back on stage, positioning themselves in full view of the riled-up crowd. Jake could feel the heat of the lights on his skin, the energy crackling like static. He could almost hear hearts pounding in anticipation. "Lily and I," Jake began, a grin creeping onto his face, "we decided to give you a glimpse into our wildest dreams. It involves laughter, and maybe $1 million. The audience erupted into laughter already, intrigued. He and Lily had developed a knack for finding common ground, and he felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this shared adventure was going to lift them high above their fears. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull off the impossible. "When you dream of winning $1 million, Lily added, her voice playful, you might imagine luxurious cars and trips around the world. But let me tell you, our dream looks more like pizza for breakfast and sleeping on the couch in our parents' basement." The sunlight of genuine laughter flowed through the space as the audience connected with their playfulness. They were winning the crowd as Jake's heart swelled with newfound confidence. But just as the momentum built, cheers from the back distracted them. Victor was back, watching intently, eyes narrowed. "Not if I have anything to say about it," Jake thought. As they rounded out their skit, he could sense the stakes rising yet again. "Here comes the real competition," Jake said quietly to Lily, who looked back at him with a mix of fear and determination. "Let's keep this fun," she replied, squeezing his hand firmly. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The audience roared now, caught up in the moment, and all Jake could think was, what was Victor's next move? And as the confident laughter echoed, with their souls laid bare before everyone, Jake wondered if they'd have what it took to win this unpredictable battle, or if Victor was about to bring them crashing down. The sky seemed to pulse with energy as Jake and Lily reveled in the applause that lingered in the air. But even as the crowd roared, Jake's heart raced with uncertainty. He scanned the faces, searching for Victor among them, who loomed in the back like a shadow, a subtle smirk etched across his face. "Okay, let's just breathe," Jake muttered, trying to regain his composure. But the waves of laughter were still crashing against him, pushing him against the shores of his doubt. "Forget about Victor," Lily exclaimed, her voice rising above the clamor. "What matters is right now. Look at them." She waved her arms around, encapsulating the cheering audience. "This is our moment. Let's build on it." He took a deep breath, trying to get lost in her contagious enthusiasm. "What's next, then?" he asked, eager to move forward, but still wary of the invisible weight Victor carried with him. Lily thought for a moment before a wild idea sparked in her eyes. "Let's do a skit about how we would handle the prize money if we won. We can show them who we really are." Jake lifted an eyebrow, intrigued. "You mean, like a budget plan?" "Exactly. Make it hilarious. Picture this. We show them how we'd still live our regular lives, but with an absurd millionaire lifestyle twist." She was practically bouncing now, her creativity igniting like fireworks. "All right, I'm in," Jake said, feeling the rush rewiring his nerves. It was a perfect blend of reality and comedy, a way to connect with everyone in a real, relatable way. The two moved to the side and huddled, brainstorming ideas, the crowd's laughter providing a rhythm to their creativity. "What about extravagant dinners?" Jake offered, chuckling. "You know, the kind where we accidentally wear pajamas? Like, oh dear, did the butler send the wrong attire again?" Lily laughed, her eyes brightening. And we can throw in a scene where we buy every flavor of ice cream but end up fighting over the last scoop. I'm a millionaire, not a monster. Just share it. As they crafted their skit, the world around them faded. The audience became a blur, like a distant carnival sound. They were back in their rhythm, merging dreams with hilarity, channeling everything they had into each line. Suddenly, the suited man stepped back on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our next act. They're back to tickle your funny bones, Jake and Lily. Jake could feel adrenaline rush through him again, heart thudding loudly in his chest. They stepped back into the spotlight, drawing closer to the edge of the stage. The stage lights were blinding, but it felt like being bathed in warmth. Jake gulped, scanning the audience once more for Victor. But there was a shift. He wasn't there anymore. Instead, a murmuring began to rise in the audience, growing louder. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and Jake caught snippets of conversation that sounded shaken. "Did you hear what Victor said?" A voice called out from the crowd, laced with disbelief. "What's going on?" Jake whispered to Lily, brows knitting together. Just as they were set to launch into their skit, an unexpected figure reappeared from among the audience. It was Victor, striding onto the stage, uninvited and unabashed. Confidence radiated off him like a heat wave, but something else flickered in his eyes. Was it desperation? "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm challenging Jake and Lily to a duel." His voice sliced through the laughter. "Let's see who's really funny." The crowd erupted, caught in a mix of excitement and intrigue, as if a game was laid bare before them. Jake's heart sank. This was not what he envisioned. "Lily, what do we do now?" he asked, panic creeping into his voice. She grasped his hand, grounding him in that swirling chaos. "We fight back with laughter, Jake. No matter what, we have to keep going." The crowd was cheering for a showdown, charged with electric anticipation. Jake knew they couldn't walk away. "All right," he nodded slowly, resolve strengthening within. "Let's show them what we've got." As they prepared to face Victor, a knot twisted in Jake's stomach. Could they match him? Was this really the moment that would define who they were? And as the laughter continued to snake around the room, an overwhelming question loomed. What if they weren't just fighting for victory, but for their very dreams? With a deep breath, Jake turned to face Victor, who stood at the center of the stage, his back straight, an air of confidence radiating off him that felt almost like a threat. The audience was buzzing with anticipation, eyes darting between the two acts, a surge of expectation filling the room. "All right, let's give the people what they want," Jake said, squaring his shoulders. The thrill of the challenge mingled with doubt, churning in his chest. He could feel the heat of the lights against his skin and the scrutinizing gaze of the crowd pushing him forward. Lily squeezed his hand again, a reminder of the unity they had created over the course of their journey together. "We've got this," she whispered, her smile brightening the situation like a beacon. "Just remember, it's all about having fun." Victor rubbed his chin, the smirk on his lips widening. "Let's up the stakes. I propose a series of challenges. Whoever makes the audience laugh the hardest wins. And the prize? The chance to perform at the grand finale." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The final performance would be a dream for Jake and Lily, something they'd yearned for since their first gig. But it also filled Jake with anxiety. What if they failed? What if Victor torpedoed their dreams? "Deal!" shouted Jake, fueled by an unexpected adrenaline rush as Victor turned to address the audience. "All right, folks, are you ready for some true comedy gold?" Victor gestured dramatically, his charisma practically igniting the crowd as they cheered. Jake glanced at Lily, who nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. They had faced the stage together once before. They could do it again. Victor went first, launching into a well-rehearsed set that highlighted his charm and backstory, keeping the audience wrapped with laughter. As he told his tales of awkward social interactions gone wildly wrong and oblivious wealthy relatives, Jake felt an unsettling anxiety creep in. Each laugh from the audience felt like a weight pressing down on him. But then it was their turn. Jake and Lily huddled together for a moment, their breaths sinking. "Let's do what we do best," Jake declared, voice steadying. "Stick to the plan, but have fun with it." With a nod, they stepped into the spotlight again, the energy in the room shifting as they began their skit. They posed dramatically as millionaire wannabes, showcasing their absurd richness with exaggerated playful gestures. "Welcome to our exclusive pajama dinner party," Lily exclaimed, flinging her arms out wide. The audience erupted in laughter at her over-the-top invitation. Jake jumped in. "Where the butler is more fashionable than the guests. Who ordered the lobster in a tuxedo?" The laughter swelled as they tossed jokes back and forth, riffing off each other's comedy. Each punchline felt like a release of energy, chasing away the shadows Victor had cast earlier. But just as they were gaining momentum, they heard screams of delight from the audience that pulled their attention. A woman in the front row was laughing so hard she nearly fell from her chair. The sound was contagious, wiping away any lingering doubts from Jake's mind. "Are you all having a good time?" Jake playfully shouted, and the crowd roared back in response. They began to build a rhythm, attempting to outdo each laugh, wrapping their unique quirks with the threads of humor. In this moment, Jake felt the barriers around him dissolve. They had become more than just competitors. They were a team celebrating joy. But as the skit drew to a close, Victor's gaze darkened, fixed on them with intensity that seemed almost predatory. A flicker of fear prickled at the back of Jake's mind. Was Victor planning to retaliate, or did he have something more sinister planned? The audience warmed to Jake and Lily, laughter clapping like thunder against the walls as they took their final bows, basking in the applause, until Victor stepped forward once more, mask removed. "Let's see how this ends, shall we?" His voice was a low rumble, unmistakably foreshadowing an even bigger confrontation. Jake's heart sank as a chill crept up his spine. What lay ahead would determine whether their dreams lived or died. They had ignited the stage with laughter. But did Victor just have a plan that would crush it all? The stakes had never been higher. And in that moment of uncertainty, one question thundered in Jake's mind. Would laughter be enough to ward off the darkness that Victor unleashed next? With the applause of the crowd still ringing in their ears, Jake and Lily exchanged nervous glances. They could feel the palpable tension in the air shifting, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. Victor loomed ahead, the satisfaction on his face promising trouble. "Here's how this will go," he declared, his voice slicing through the excitement like a knife. "You've entertained the crowd with your little skit, but the next challenge will require true skill. I want to see if you can keep them laughing under pressure. It's simple. Improv." Lily's confidence wavered, and Jake could see her bite her lip. "Improv?" she whispered, anxiety creeping into her tone. "What if we freeze up?" Jake felt the weight of her worry, but he squeezed her hand. "We've got this," he reassured her, even though doubt clawed at him. "We know our characters. Let's just have fun like we always do." Victor's smirk widened. "You'll be drawing prompts from this hat. Whatever you pick, you'll have to turn it into comedy on the spot. The audience will decide who has the best performance." There was a collective gasp from the crowd, excitement mingling with trepidation. Jake felt the intensity in the air. This could either launch them into the finale or send them crashing into failure. As the soon-to-be contestants, Jake and Lily stepped forward, cautiously eyeing a brightly decorated hat sitting on the edge of the stage. "You'll go first," Victor said, circling them like a hawk. Lily reached into the hat, her fingers trembling slightly as she pulled out a slip. Chicken dance at a funeral," she read aloud, her eyes widening in disbelief. Laughter erupted from the audience, and despite the dire context, a grin tugged at Jake's lips. "Easy peasy," Jake chuckled. "Let's make it absurd." They took a breath, then jumped back into character, blindly improvising as they mimicked a sad procession gone delightfully awry. Jake twirled his arms as if leading a funeral march, and Lily followed suit with an exaggerated wiggle, faltering occasionally as if caught off guard by their own absurdity. The laughter from the audience flowed, bringing warmth as they dove deeper into the scene, dancing and pretending to cry dramatically. Victor frowned, glaring with fierce jealousy as the crowd roared with delight, cheering Jake and Lily on. But the tension in his posture signaled that this wasn't over. He would retaliate. Victor soon drew his prompt, returning to the microphone with an air of authority. "Let's see how you handle a 10-pound weight while trying to be a stand-up comedian." The audience erupted in playful cheers, hungry for the entertainment that promised to unfold. With shaking hands, he picked up the dumbbell and attempted to deliver a serious joke, clearly struggling. Despite the weight, he tried to force humor, which only made the scene more comical. Jake turned to Lily, eyes wide. "Can you believe this? He's losing it!" The laughter around them grew louder as Victor's struggle turned into something almost pitiful. Yet, through it all, Jake felt a prickle of concern. What if he gave up? What if he retaliated with something more dangerous than just a joke? Jake glanced back at Victor, who was now sweating, trying to regain control of his material. The crowd was shifting, their laughter fading into an anxious hum, expecting more from the man they had once cheered for. "Here's an idea," Victor barked, undermined and desperate. "Why don't I improvise a new challenge, involving you two?" The audience fell silent, eyes darting to Jake and Lily as Victor grinned sinisterly. "Get ready, because you're about to face more than just comedy." Jake felt his heart race. They had stepped into an unexpected challenge, but now it felt like something darker was looming over their heads. What lay ahead, concealed in Victor's smirk? As they prepared for the unknown to unfold, Jake found himself wondering, could laughter really protect them from whatever Victor had in store next? The crowd's anticipation hung heavy in the air, every spectator gripping their seats. Victor reveled in the silence, taking a moment to drink in the power he'd regained. Jake's stomach churned as he exchanged another worried glance with Lily. "Okay, let's see what kind of improv skills you really have," Victor said, his eyes gleaming with malicious intent. "What does that even mean?" Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. Before Jake could respond, Victor raised a finger dramatically. "I'll provide a scenario, and you two have to act it out. But here's the twist." He leaned closer to them, the audience leaning in as well. "If you fail to elicit laughter from me, you must complete my next challenge." "Which is?" Jake asked, working hard to sound casual despite his rising dread. Victor smiled, sinister and knowing. "A riddle involving your biggest fears, with consequences." A chill ran down Jake's spine. He didn't want to think about what that might entail. Lily looked pale, but she forced a smile. She would not let Victor get the best of them. "Okay, what's the scenario?" "Picture this," Victor announced, his voice booming as he gestured expansively. "You've just gotten out of a mandatory dance class with a goat as your instructor. Now impress me." The crowd erupted again, half laughing and half groaning at the absurdity. Jake felt the tension relax slightly. They could work with this. Goat dancing? It was ridiculous enough to spark something. "All right," Jake whispered to Lily, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and nerves. "Let's make it wild." Lily nodded, and as they broke into character, Jake began mimicking a disjointed jig, flailing his arms and exaggerating his legs as if trying to keep balance on a tightrope. Lily jumped in, copying him but adding dramatic cowboy-style hand motions, pretending to wrangle the imaginary goat while making a series of bleating sounds. The laughter began as murmurs, spreading like wildfire until the audience was howling, the sound of joy echoing back at them. It fueled them, and as they continued, Jake felt alive, their chemistry igniting the moment even further. They danced hard, fell, rolled, then popped back up with goofy grins, as if defying the laws of gravity. Victor's brow furrowed. Even under his scrutiny, the crowd adored them. The laughter boomed like applause, a wave of relief washing over Jake. But as Victor's expression darkened, Jake knew that victory wouldn't dissuade Victor for long. "Very funny," Victor finally muttered, "but we have unfinished business." He paced back and forth, his eyebrows furrowing thoughtfully. Jake's heart raced again. "So what's next?" With a curt smile, Victor turned back, his gaze piercing. "Now, the riddle. Prepare yourselves." The audience leaned in closer, hushed. It was like a suspense film, the kind where every heartbeat counted. Jake felt as if the weight of the world hung over them, accentuated by Victor's deliberately slow delivery. "I want to hear your very deepest fears," Victor challenged, his eyes glinting with a mix of malice and glee. "Speak them aloud, and I might let you go." The humor that had bonded them moments ago faded, replaced by a heaviness that swirled within Jake's chest. Lily's glance towards Jake spoke volumes. It was a risk neither wanted to take. But what choice did they have? In that tense moment, the reality settled in. This wasn't just a game anymore. Would they reveal their vulnerabilities to disarm Victor? Or would they hold tight to their secrets and face whatever he had planned? The question hung in the air, and Jake's heart beat louder than the cheering crowd. What would they decide? Would they dare reveal the fears that haunted them most? Or would Victor's challenge bring them to their breaking point? Silence enveloped the crowd, heavy and expectant. The stakes had never felt so raw. Jake could feel his heart pounding in his chest as he looked at Lily. She was unwavering, but there was fear lurking in her eyes. "Jake, we can't just pull back," she whispered, her breath trembling slightly. "We need to define what matters to us, together, even if it's hard." Jake nodded, a sense of determination washing over him. "You're right. If we're going to do this, then we have to be honest." He felt the weight of Victor's gaze like a spotlight, relentless and probing. "You first," Jake said, prompting Lily gently. She took a deep breath, standing slightly taller. What if I fail to be the sister you need me to be?" she confessed, her voice steady yet vulnerable. "What if I end up dragging you down?" A wave of understanding washed over Jake. Here she was, bravely laying her fears bare in front of the crowd, a testament to their bond. He swallowed hard. "If we're going there," Jake began, trembling but resolute, "then I'll go next. My fear is losing you, Lil." His voice cracked, the truth cutting through the tension like a knife. "I don't want to let my ambitions overshadow the love we have. That scares me more than anything." Gasps rippled through the audience, mingled with murmurs of support. In that moment, the laughter faded, replaced by a raw honesty that pierced the room. Victor's expression shifted, surprise breaking through the facade. "A heartfelt moment, huh?" he scoffed, but his voice lacked real conviction. "But if you think that will absolve you from my challenge." A quiet resolve settled over Jake. "It's not about absolution. It's about standing here as a family, humility over ego." The audience erupted in applause, kindness resonating in the room like a heartbeat. The joy of genuine connection injected life into the air. They had taken a risk, and it was paying off. Victor stood, momentarily speechless, his plan crumbling in the face of such vulnerability. "You think this is enough? That your little confession will bring you victory?" Jake and Lily exchanged glances, then Lily stepped forward. "It's not just about a game, Victor. People need laughter, yes, but they also need connection. They need to know they're not alone." "Your little preaching won't stop me," Victor sneered. Determination ignited anew, but the edge had dulled. "You'll face the real consequences of failure now. And what are you going to do?" Jake challenged, the fire igniting within him. "Take away our laughter? Threaten us with your shallow challenges? Because here's the truth. No amount of money can buy the bond Lily and I share." Victor's confidence began to falter. In the face of honesty and raw emotion, it felt as if a divide was forming. not just between them, but within Victor himself. The crowd erupted again, this time not just in applause, but in solidarity. "Danger?" he finally said, attempting a final bravado. "What's the danger of losing $1 million in a laugh-off?" "I'll tell you," Lily said, her voice steady. "It's losing faith in yourself, the connections you cultivate, the love you share. It's losing sight of what really matters." With each word, the audience felt the intensity growing. Jake glanced around, finally seeing the cheers of understanding wash over the room. They were not only fighting Victor, they were confronting the greater issue, a heart hardened by bravado and ego. In a moment of brilliance, a challenger called from the crowd, "Victor, the crowd's already laughing. Isn't that what you wanted?" The roar of approval surged through the audience, and with it came the wave of realization for Victor. Jake and Lily locked eyes, knowing they had done something extraordinary. Together, their humor had blended with vulnerability, transforming the narrative. "Victor," Jake called, "it doesn't have to be this way. There's room for all of us to thrive. There's room for all of us to laugh." Slowly, Victor began to break. His facade wavered and the smirk slipped away. With a heavy sigh, he seemed to deflate before their eyes. The pressure of expectations lifted. "Fine," he said, the venom replaced by reluctance. "You win, I suppose. Or maybe we all do." In that moment, laughter erupted anew, louder than ever, lifting the spirit of the town. The audience's bonds tightened, laughter ignited with shared joy. Jake felt a surge of warmth flood over him. Together, they had sparked a change that transcended the contest. It meant strength and vulnerability, joy born of connection. As they stood there, bathed in the warmth of love and laughter, Jake and Lily grasped hands tightly. Victor had given them goals, but together, it was they who embraced what truly mattered, a genuine belief that laughter could unite, heal, and transform. With tears of joy blurring his vision, Jake couldn't help but smile. They'd made it through. As the crowd began to disperse, cheers still echoing in their ears, Jake looked at Lily. "We did it, didn't we?" "Yeah," Lily beamed. "Together we made it real." The sense of triumph enveloped them. It wasn't just a contest they'd fought. It was a victory for laughter, connection, and love. Now, looking out at the crowd, they felt ready for what came next. Whatever it was, they would face it together. And if there was one thing they could take from this experience, it was that they had the strength to rise above any challenge. So, if you're still here and enjoyed this journey with Jake and Lily, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Every click counts. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. I'm eager to hear your take. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Real fans like you understand the importance of reaching out and lifting each other up.